What do you actually like doing? Do you like dancing? Do you like, hiking? Do you like swimming? Do you like, what is it except from drinking? When I got over here, guys were so assertive. They were just like, oh my God, you're amazing. I really want, oh, let's go. You want to go here? But again, it was like dates of like, do you want to go on a hike? Do you want to go, like, all of these different options. I was back home, it's like, so, yeah, do you want to go for a pint or something? Yeah. Like, it's, not even looking at my eyes, not even like, no eye contact, just like, fucking, yeah, you're grand.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Beyond Borders podcast. Today, I will be talking to a good friend of mine, Clara from Ireland. You may remember Clara from many videos on Dating Beyond Borders. Clara actually originally applied to do one of the videos, but as I was away at the time, we didn't get a chance to meet. And then we met sometime later during filming. And I just remember we started a conversation about dating in Ireland and the pitfalls of dating in Ireland. And I just kept thinking this would make for a great podcast. So here we are. A big welcome to the actress, scriptwriter, and one of the most talented and hilarious people I know, Clara White.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm like blushing. Yeah, now I don't know what to say. That was too much of an intro for me. That's like my humble brain is like, what is all this compliments? I can't.
My goal is to try to make you feel uncomfortable. So I hope I managed.
You did, yeah. I'm sweating now. We've just started, and I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah, good start. Good start.
So for all the viewers out there, some of you may know you from the Dating Beyond Borders channel, obviously. But for anyone else who's new to the podcast, doesn't know anything about you, tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from in Ireland? How long ago did you come to Canada?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm from Dublin. I don't necessarily have the most Dublin accent according to most of the Canadians over here. Since I moved over, they're like, you don't sound like you're from Dublin. I'm like, what do you want me to sound like? And then the minute I put on like some kind of Conor McGregor accent and I'm like, hey, how's it fucking going? Like, you doing well? They're like, ah, you are from Dublin. I'm like, thank you. So, yeah, I moved here last year, sort of end of February, start of March, I believe. So I've been here, yeah, a little over a year. Yeah, just I've been working on my own stuff, working on writing, getting my plays going. Got my own little podcast that I'm trying to get off the ground as well. So this is good practice for me to be on yours because I really respect what you do, and the work that you put in is always done with the utmost of dignity and research and all of those good things. And yeah, so I was really actually happy to be able to do as many videos with you as I have because they've been really fun. I think the one that I got to write where living with an Irish woman, that was like, yeah, that was crazy. Got a lot of slapback for that of like being an alcoholic. And I was just like, well, the stereotype exists for a reason. And this is tea, by the way.
Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned the stereotypes because one of the questions that I have for you is how true, in your opinion, is the Irish stereotype? And the Irish stereotype is basically the fun loving, crack loving, not the drug, fun loving. Crack equals fun for anyone who doesn't know. Banter loving, like drinking, heavily drinking Irish person. How true is that stereotype, do you think?
Stereotypes do exist for a reason. Like, it's not like someone just picked it up out of nowhere that Irish people are like, one for the banter and the drink. Like it's definitely something that is very, very present in our culture. Now, obviously not everyone drinks like every single day, and we're not just like, waking up hungover and just like, let's go again. Like I think more moderate than what the rest of the world maybe thinks, but no, we do certainly know how to have a party till the very wee hours of the mornings. I mean, yeah, I would say true for the most part. I mean, all you have to do is really look at the amount of Irish pubs there are around the world. I think there's like one in every country. In terms of like socializing, it is definitely done with a drink in hand for the most part, be that at a pub or dinner parties or whatever it is, depending on your age, of course. But yeah, there is a drinking culture in Ireland. Shamefully, in many ways, because I know a lot of my friends anyway, we all started drinking like really early, like 14, 15, like you look at a 14 or 15-year-old now and you're like, oh my God, they're a little baby. And then thinking back to when we were kids, it's like, we were drinking straight vodka in a field, like just like falling all over each other, just pretending to be. I used to take my mum's like trench coat, like her grown up coat or whatever, and she had a spare set of car keys. So I'd like put on the coat and I'd go into the store and like put the car keys on the desk and like look really busy. I'd like grab my bag and I'd be like, oh God, I just have a meeting to get to and I'm just, I'm so busy and oh sorry, just a liter of vodka as well, please. And I'm like 15 trying to pretend that I'm like super old. But like there was always ways and means of getting alcohol, whether it was getting someone else to get it for you or, you just happen to look old enough to be able to buy it yourself. But yeah, we started very early, very early. And I think I don't know, a lot of your kind of sense of self around that partying thing is either you lean into it more as you grow up and that kind of becomes a part of your personality that you're like this party person, or you have to do a bit of work to undo that essentially. Like you have to kind of go, okay, I was a teenager, I was young, that was a lot of peer pressure. Maybe I don't want to drink straight vodka from the bottle in a field. Maybe that's you know, not the most wholesome foundation for, you know, being a better person or being, I guess kind of because it comes into that whole conversation of like self love and self care. And I think that's something maybe I've noticed in Ireland that we have to fight kind of extra hard to build up because of, I guess, those pressures of growing up with alcohol.
Mm. Do you think that, I mean, and I think you mentioned that in the conversation with me before, that's like there's an expectation that if you're going to be going out, that you are going to be drinking? Is that an expectation in Ireland? Like, can you go out and just say, "Hey guys, I'm just gonna have some tea, or I'm just gonna have a Coke, or I'll just have one glass."
Like prepared to be slagged like heavily. So I mean, I actually when I moved over here, just because I found I was getting quite busy with work, I was getting quite busy with like meeting new friends, new people, that hangovers were kind of like, oh, okay, I now have to go do things like so I did actually stop drinking for 6 months. And when I went back to Ireland during that 6 months, it was this whole kind of like hanging out with my friends and oh, look at you, fucking Clara, moving to Canada and getting all healthy. Like, so it's kind of, if you go out in a drink setting, like a bar or whatever, and you're just like, oh no, I'll just have the non alcoholic beer or the tea or whatever, it's kind of holding a mirror up to people a little bit sometimes, which I think you know, is always going to sort of give way to a lot of like back chat and like, oh, look, I'm sober. Yeah. Like it's in one way, I think people are kind of happy for you and that you are being healthy, but in another way, I think people are like, don't leave us. No.
Yeah. It's like when someone's trying to lose weight and they hang out with all the friends that just want to not address that problem, then I feel in a way that kind of drags you down, right? Because then they're saying like, why, but why did you change? Why are you changing? People don't want to address that kind of problem, that they have an issue. And if someone realizes that they have an issue with drinking, um then they feel they have to change, but they don't want to change. They just want to keep doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, like, I mean, sort of part of my reason as well for moving to Toronto is like there is this thing in Ireland, you know, and again, a lot of people I'm sure can correct me and say, no, that's not true. This is, totally coming from the experience of people who I've hung out with and, people in my circles back home. There is kind of like a little bit of a complacency in terms of doing better and like pushing yourself or challenging yourself. Like when you're in kind of like this sort of status quo of like going out drinking on the weekends and you do a bit of work here and there and you hang out with your friends, like everything does become very comfortable. Like it's very just like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what life looks like, I don't need to change, I don't need to do anything because everyone around me is mirroring exactly my attitude to life, to living, to progress, whatever that looks like. So for me, not to say that I was surrounded by like total degenerates in any way, because that's not true. But for myself, I found And again, not putting the responsibility on anyone else to be like, oh, it's all their fault. But I found I didn't want to push myself to be better or to take better care of myself. And there is a very humbling thing about Irish people that if you do like get too big for your boots, as we say, it's very much like they'll pull you down a few pegs. Like, you know, if you rocked up in a Lamborghini or whatever, you happen to be super successful and you've worked your ass off to get that Lamborghini, it's like, look at your one and the fucking like, you know, it's slagged. It's kind of like, yeah, who do you think you are, kind of thing. So status in Ireland is, it's a bit ambiguous because sometimes like you may never know that the person you're hanging out with is an absolute millionaire and like, you know, gets up at 5 a.m. and does like a juice cleanse on the way, like, you know, because they'll kind of do that in secret unless they're hanging out with a certain category of people who would celebrate that.
Why do you think that is? Is there a reason in that? Like, don't act better than anyone else?
Oh, maybe like Catholic guilt. You know, the Catholic Church has a lot to do with like, I guess, our vision of ourselves and like shaming one another. You know, because like if you kind of go back to the history of it, like sex was shamed, like divorce wasn't legal, like all of these things where it was just like, you know, just trying to find your place was like very heavily dictated by the Catholic Church. So fast forward to, I guess, present day, like there's always going to be residuals of like any country's history. You know, there's going to be like elements, and that's where, you know, the stereotypes come from. But, you know, for the most part, Ireland, very, very itsy bitsy country, like super, super small. And then you have the whole English takeover, that, at least where they tried to, and tried to kind of strong arm us into submission. And it was like, hang on a second, no. So you take all of those years of fighting and battling for independence and your sense of self, like that's, you know, that's our history. And then when we get that independence and we win, in essence, there was a big kind of like, well, shit, now what do we do? Like, we don't know how to govern ourselves. We don't know, you know, so that's where, you know, in terms of money and power, that's where the Catholic Church were able to kind of swoop in and be like, we'll tell you what to do. So,
Hmm.
you know, it's always been kind of like handing over, I guess, handing over our power a little bit. So a lot of that kind of not being too big for your boots kind of thing seems to me anyway, it seems to come from kind of a sense of like, can I do this myself or do I need someone else to do it for me? And
Interesting.
because there is such a strong kind of community, you know, with large groups of friends, like, you know, everyone in Ireland knows everyone 100%. Like there's no way you will meet someone in Ireland where, you know, oh, John O'Flaherty, it's like I probably do know John O'Flaherty. You know, they say that over here, like when you get to America and stuff, they're like, oh, do you know like Mary Burke? And you're like, if I thought about it long and hard enough, I probably do. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, yeah, I do actually know. I'm really good friend. I'm really good friends with her daughter. Like,
So funny that you mentioned that because this is what happens every time I'm casting. Like whenever I post on other international groups and I'll say, "Hey, I'm looking for a German," for example, they're just going to apply if they want to do it. But what happens when I look for an Irish person? It's just friends of friends pushing each other along. Hey, you old lad, it's your turn to be famous. But like hours later, I'm still sitting there and literally no one has come forward and actually applied. All they're doing is just pushing each other to go for it. It feels a bit like kindergarten to me, where it's just like, you do it.
yeah, in no way seriously either. Like, they're definitely pushing to be like, oh, you can go fucking talk about it. Like, it is. It's one of those things where it's like, if you go and do it, prepare to be slagged. Like, yeah, Irish guys can be brutal. They really can. They're hilarious. Like, and there's also, it's a very like, it can be quite an abrasive sense of humor that I don't think a lot of people get. Like, for example, one of my friends was slagging me over here for stopping smoking. He's like, oh yeah, Clara, good luck with that. Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But another friend of mine, though, who's there was like, oh, that's really mean. Like, don't slag her. She's trying really hard, blah, blah. And I was like, are you more offended for me right now? Like, what? Like, but, you know, she didn't get the sense of humor the way I got it. Like, there's, you know, that slagging kind of thing is very, very, like, it feels like home to me. So I do kind of generally tend to lean more towards people who would have that sense of humor of like tearing into each other, even though maybe over here it's not like considered the nicest. So I do have to kind of check myself and be like, oh no, that might not be nice, that might not be received well, don't say that. Like, whereas back home, like, I could turn around and be like, oh, you fucking idiot, like, or whatever, and it's not taken so seriously.
When it comes to Irish dating, is that a thing as well? I mean, slagging each other and just banter, is that a huge part of like the initial dating, courtship, whatever you call it in Ireland?
Yeah, yeah. No, you could literally be dating a guy for 6 months and you wouldn't even know if he liked you. There'd always be an inkling of like, does he though? Like, you're like, I don't know. He's been calling me a lot of names. Like, yeah. You could date an Irish guy and literally, like, it could take a really, really long time for him to just turn around and be like, Clara, you're like really special to me. Like, that sentence alone would like, fuck, you'd be like, what? What did you say? Are you okay? Did you take drugs? Like, what's going on? Like, there would be a bit of like a pause for sure. Because I think again, so much of that banter is so heavily integrated into like all aspects of our lives that true, honest, earnest vulnerability is something that you really have to fight for from an Irish person for sure. Like, well, maybe again, not to speak for absolutely every single one of them, but the ones that I've been exposed to certainly have been a lot of hard work.
Is there like a discomfort with showing that vulnerability, do you think? Is that why?
Yeah, I think so, but I think again, a lot of that's down to how it will be received. I think by your peers and again because like everyone knows everyone. Like if you say something to me and you're being like super vulnerable, like there's probably a chance like, someone's going to hear about it and then someone else and then someone else and then someone else. So it's like, you got to be kind of a little bit choosy with how forthcoming you can be because it can either be received in such a way of like the whole of Dublin's going to know about it and everyone's going to be slagging you for like at least 2 weeks until, the next joke pops up. But yeah, there is an element of like, careful what you say because you never know who's going to hear it.
So when you start dating, first of all, like how do people generally meet each other in Ireland? I mean, I'm assuming it's just dating apps and pubs. Is that how it works?
Pubs for the most part. Actually, I think dating apps took a while to kick off in Ireland. Purely because you're kind of like there's again you're putting yourself out there on a profile and like having a like Irish guys and their dating profiles are absolutely hilarious. Like they're so sparse, like no information whatsoever. It's like a lad in a rugby jersey or a lad in a football jersey, and just like there you go. That's all you need to know about me. I'm giving you nothing. Whereas over here, it's like fucking like essays, like, and this is the kind of girl that I'm after, and I'm really looking for someone who's like compassionate and like learning to be better and learning more about herself and just someone that I can go on adventures with and travel because I'm really big into like trying new food and it's like whoa okay, so you get like a full spectrum of guys over here whereas at home it's like it's the crack, how's it going? Like that's it. It's like, oh sure, yeah, I'd love to hang out with you, yeah, cool. So
So that's because someone will say like Tommy, look at his profile. Like he look at him like looking for a girl and just make fun of him. Is that the reason why you think?
and that's the thing, like everyone knows each other, so like certainly all the school like friend groups and stuff like early 20s like that kind of thing, it's like if you were going out with a guy who was like from a certain school, say like Blackrock College, like Terranure, like I'm trying to think of all the kind of like the lad colleges like St. Mary's and stuff, like they're all kind of like the rugby lads, and again, they all talk, they all slag each other. It's all locker room kind of stuff, and they take it out in the rugby field or they do whatever. But like, guarantee every single guy knows about every single girl, and vice versa. Like, it's like if I'm gonna go out with someone, chances are so many people know you and so many people know me. So there's like this big like everyone's watching. Everyone's like, wow, what's going on with Clara and Dave? What's going on? Like, there's so much chat that goes around it that it's like, I think it puts a bit of pressure on like just anything just being like nice and casual, but it does kind of force you to be like a little bit more ballsy, I guess. You do have to kind of get better at growing sort of a thick skin, I think, in the early dating phases because, like, certainly guys that I hooked up with or whatever, like, yeah, like my friends would be like, you kissed who? What? Oh my, like, because they know everything about him. They know his backstory. They know who he hangs out with. They're like, did you know he fucking threw up on like his fucking best friend's nose like last week? Like, did there's a whole bunch of stories that come with it. There's a whole bunch of like, and you kissed him? Oh my God. Oh, I heard he smelled so bad. Or like, there's all this kind of.
Even in Dublin, such a big city, I would assume. Well, relatively big city, right?
Well, it's very broken up though. Like it is very much like we've got the whole north and south Dublin divide, big time. Like the Liffey, the River Liffey goes right through, and then you've got North Dublin, South Dublin. Swear to fucking God, for most of my life, I had no idea what happened on the north of Dublin. Like, no idea. Couldn't tell you a single school, couldn't tell you anyone that lived there. Was very much like South Dublin girl, sticking to myself. And then everything kind of gets clustered into what school you went to and how close the other surrounding schools are. And that would dictate who your group of friends would be and who you mingled with. You don't venture too far out. And that's what I mean about that comfortable thing. You kind of get in your bubble and generally people stay there. So, like, there's a lot of people that I went to school with who have now married the guys from our group of like the guy friends. Like, they just have not left that little circle. Like
Mm.
people who are just like, yeah, this is my comfort. These are the guys I grew up with. These like that's what I know. And it's staying that way.
Wow.
And I had a big struggle with that. Like I find that like yeah, quite difficult to just be like, okay, sure, yeah, let's just hang out with the same people for the rest of it. Like there's something nice about that, of course, but
Yeah, it's a very kind of routine life where everything is set for you and you like it that way. Like it's the known. It's like you're doing the same thing day in day out, just not venturing too far out, except for maybe some, I don't know, I guess vacations to Mallorca or wherever Irish people tend to go.
yeah, there is a process and there is something like a standard that people generally want to adhere to. But then I think on the flip side of that, if you haven't found your person or you haven't been successful in dating and you're pushing on 30, 35, whatever the age is, and you're still like looking, it does bring with it a lot of like mental health issues for sure. And that's I think where the drinking can kind of get ramped up a bit because that whole bar going out meeting people is kind of I guess where people think it's all just going to kick off. And then it's like, well, what about your hobbies? What do you actually like doing? Do you like dancing? Do you like hiking? Do you like swimming? Do you like what is it except from drinking? Because I think people then can often find that okay, I'm going out to this bar and I'm trying to meet all these people, but like everyone's so fucking drunk. Like, okay, we're all just like drinking our sorrows away that we're still single or we're not married with kids yet.
Are
And then is that your ideal person? Maybe not, but then people get shocked as to why they're not finding their ideal person on a night out. It's like, I wonder, maybe because you can't fucking remember what they look like. So it's kind of a catch-22.
are there a lot of one night stands when it comes to pubs?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I personally like try to avoid getting into that too much, like dipping into that area because again, early 20s, like I was going out with a guy for 4 years and then I broke up with him when I was like 22, 21, 22. And when I broke up with him, I kind of felt like, oh, I have all this catching up to do and gotta go do all this dating and go sleep around and blah blah. But like I didn't particularly enjoy it at all because again I just felt like it was just adding to the mental health issues of like what am I supposed to be doing with my life, who am I supposed to be with, blah, blah, blah. Like for me one night stands I don't get, but some people definitely are like every weekend like one after the other after the other after the other and you're like, and again like it begs so many questions of like what kind of void in your life that you're trying to fill right now, you know because if it comes down to it, it's really the relationship with you that you have with yourself that I think again Irish people and who I've been exposed to seem to be a bit late at coming to terms with that and coming to terms with like what it takes to actually be fulfilled in yourself and kind of forgive yourself a little bit more that if you don't have this loving amazing perfect fairy tale relationship that like that's kind of okay. It doesn't mean you need to go get like hammered and just like reestablish this narrative that you have of yourself that you're a piece of shit and no one wants you. Because going and drinking and getting super, super drunk every single weekend is kind of just doing that, really. It's just kind of going,
Yeah.
yeah, don't feel great. I do not feel great. Oh, still don't feel great. That's, yeah, okay, still single, still don't feel great. And you're like, oh, that's so surprising. Like, wow.
I wonder what I'm doing wrong here because it just seems like I'm
Yeah,
doing the same
yeah,
thing, expecting different results. And that's
yeah.
the definition of craziness, as they say.
Literally, or it's like one of those things where it's like, I think it was like on The Simpsons or something, and it's like, we've tried nothing and we're all out of options. And it's like, yeah.
I think it's like, it feels like a loop, right? Because, like, when you're depressed, you drink. And when you drink, you're like, I want to feel sexy. And there's Tommy. and, and then you slept with him. Well, I kind of feel shitty again. So let me repeat the process.
Yeah.
And surprise.
Oh, Tommy, it's yourself again. All right, well, we might as well. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I do remember I had a date with a guy named Tommy. It was actually in Portugal, and I just remember I was like, he was like a jock, and I was like, he was Irish, and I was like, oh, let me show you some interesting old neighborhoods of the Alfama district in Lisbon, and he was like, that's cool. I found a pub. It has beer and popcorn. And then literally he found a guy on the next on like the next table over. I think he was also Irish, and then they had a conversation about football, and I was like, wow, what a great experience you're gonna have in Lisbon.
Yeah,
I don't think all Irish men are like that. Yeah, no.
there's
I
a lot of them, though.
a lot, right?
There is a lot of them for sure that are like that. I mean, that like again, I went out with this guy. We went to, I think it was like some island in Greece because the year again, this is something that's very like structured in Ireland, like in terms of when you take your holidays and where you go. So 6 year holidays are loose, to put it lightly. Like they are just pure chaos. It's when everyone's finished their exams, you've just been like bed into all your exam papers and you're finally free and you're 18 and you're able to go legally drink wherever the fuck you want. So generally people will go to Greece and or an island in Greece, or the smart ones will go interrailing, which is basically just like, yeah, traveling around Europe on all the trains. So smart people go interrailing and people who have a bit of dignity go and take a train. The rest of us go to Greece and get fucking hammered and have sex with anything with a pulse and get drink like just poured like from bars, whatever. Yeah, it's just pure anarchy. So we went to Zakynthos, and again, like every guy group, every girl, like just hundreds of us just swarming to this one strip. We're all like taking up all the apartments, everything, and just pure chaos of like, I'm gonna sleep with you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have this drink, I'm like, and then sort of thereafter, everything's like structured in such a way of like, oh, yeah, I met you at Greece, I think. So it's like every holiday that precedes, there's a new story about Clara, there's a new story about Tommy, because we all go to the same fucking places, like every single one of us. So I think it's Greece first, then there's the J1, which is like the visa everyone gets to go and stay in America. So you either go like New York, California, whatever. Everyone flocks there. Again, thousands of Irish people. I went and lived in New York, and there was like a loft of 15 of us all under one roof, like all Irish people, all getting drunk. You'd wake up and there'd be like sandwiches stuck to the wall, like just, ugh. It's horrible. So that was that, and then you move on, and then there's Thailand, and but again, everyone does it. Like everyone's like, oh, it's the Thailand year, or it's the J1 year, or it's the 6 year holiday now. So again, it's all like all of those stories build up, but that even influences how we travel. Like when we go away, it's like this mad fucking party. Let's go find the pub. Let's go find the bar, because that's how we've been exposed to it. It's like 6 year holiday, chaos, 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 more chaos, more chaos. And then when you try to get to the point where you're like, oh, let's just have a normal holiday. Like this guy I was going out with, I wanted to go back to Greece and do Greece as like a chill, like beach holiday. And we were there for 2 weeks. And by week two, he was like literally ready to break up with me. He was like, I can't believe you chose this place. It's so boring. Like, I can't, like, Cara, we're not even like these types of people. We don't even just like sit on beaches. Like, why did we come here? We could have gone to like Ibiza. We could have gone like fucking like, it's nice for like a day, but not 2 fucking weeks. Just a beach and like fucking sightseeing. Like, it's fucking rocks. What are we looking at? I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, that's what I noticed when I went to Mallorca, where it's like there's not as many Irish people, there's some, but there's a lot of, for example, Germans. And the way they go there is they're basically in Germany still, because they have their German pubs, they have everything written in German. So it's that kind of thing where it's like you go on vacation, but you're still in your own country essentially, because you still go to the same pubs. You're still surrounded by people from your country. Like you're not there to meet locals, right? You're just there to party with Tommy.
Yeah,
And
basically.
that's not even a cultural experience. You don't go there for the culture. You go there for the party in a slightly or like a very different climate. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is like unless you are against the grain, you want to kind of try break away from that sort of way of living. Like I'm not, yeah, I won't lie. It took me a while to be like, oh, I don't really like these types of holidays anymore. But you get very pulled into it. There is an intense high, that kind of dopamine rush or whatever it is of like going with all your friends and all these cool stories and everything's so exciting and so like, he did that. Oh my God, what's happening over here? Like it's all very like go, 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 go. Like at home, that sort of comfortable bubble of going to your local pub or going whatever, it's like being able to take all of that and just put it in a new location. It's kind of like that spark, that like newness that people are looking for, but yet they're bringing the exact same behavior with them of like, I actually want it to be a little bit new, but not too new that it's going to scare the shit out of me. Like new enough that I can be loose and crazy and not feel bad about it because I can go back home and be like, back into my comfortable bubble. But just far enough removed with enough sort of comfort of the people that I'm going with, or that there is going to be an Irish pub, or at least an Irish person has come here before and I've heard a story about it that I can reference to that. Like for someone to go, oh, I'm going to go to Madagascar next year, actually, yeah, I'm just going to, oh Jesus, who's been there before? No, no one. I just want to go. You're going to Madagascar? What? Why? What's there? Stuff. I don't know. I want to go. Like I want to go see. And it's like, okay, who are you going with? Myself. Again, if you're on your own, if you don't have like a massive group or something integrated to Ireland when you travel, there is like, why would you want to? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, let me know how it goes. Yeah, deadly. And then I'll use you as a reference point. And then if you say it's fun enough and I get enough stories going of like, oh, Clara went and then Tommy went and then Mary went, yeah, fucking let's all go to Madagascar. That's kind of how it works. It's like you need enough kind of comfort in your community doing something to be like, yeah, let's get on board with that.
That's so interesting. Yeah, it's a community plays such a huge role in Ireland. Whereas, like in North America, everyone's just kind of trying to be individual. It's more about your individuality, right?
People need that extra little push to be a little more uninhibited, a little more courageous in themselves. And alcohol, in and of itself, generally tends to fuel that. And that's, a lot of what I can see the reason people drink it in the first place is to essentially amplify something that's like hidden within them or something that they can't like naturally get to on their own. Um, because like oftentimes like especially when I went home and I wasn't drinking, like my friends once they'd kind of clocked like, oh Jesus, you've been out all night, like you've been chatting away, like no worries, you do you even fucking need alcohol? I'm like, no, no, probably not. Like, but I could, but yeah, no, I probably don't. Um, and again, that's not to say like I'm like the greatest person in the world. Oh my god, like, and this again is such an Irish thing to do. Like, I can't even like turn around and be like, I actually put so much work into myself. I've worked like fucking tirelessly, like therapy, self help, all this shit for like 4 years back to back. I can't even say that without being like, oh yeah, well no, I'm not that great. So like, but if I am to be honest and take a bit of Canadian sort of like, yeah, no, good for you, like, and be like happy about the work I've done, I can actually turn around and say like, yeah, I don't need alcohol to be confident, to be happy, to talk.
Mm.
But saying that again, maybe back home is like, ugh, do you not? So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, it is one of those things that you really have to look at, like, what is fueling like those parts of yourself that maybe you don't want to look at. And I think because you're surrounded with so many people that let you away with it, that you can kind of just like sort of slide into the background. I don't really have to do anything here because there's hundreds of others of me doing the exact same thing. And it's that validation. It's like the community driven bias of like, oh, we're good. I don't have to do anything. That's fine.
Yeah, there's like I find Irish humor is very like self-deprecating a lot. Well, I mean, British humor is also very self-deprecating, but it's also like they're very understated. Everything is kind of downplayed, I find. And even, I mean, I did go out with an Irish guy for 3 months. And
Woo!
I remember we
Woo!
went on vacation. First things first, he got burned, of course. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's red. But then the other thing is, we went, he was pasty white. I mean, it was bound to happen. The amount of sunscreen he used up was incredible.
The farmer's tan right
It
here on
was
the arm.
it was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
But what really was hilarious is we went dancing. And the one thing that I find with Irish guys in general is that not only do they not like to dance, but they like to make fun of everyone who is dancing because they're so uncomfortable with it, you know? So the whole night he was like, hey, this is so stupid. This is a stupid song. This is funny. I was like, please stop talking. Can you please dance? If not, just let me dance.
No, definitely. Anything that's just like, look at me in any kind of way. Like, but that's the thing, right? It's like no one's really looking at anyone when people are dancing. Like, it's not like, like, but Irish lads are a breed unto themselves where if they're on the fucking dance floor, they're there with their drink and they're fucking looking at everyone. They're like, who is being more embarrassing than me? Who can I look at that's gonna make me feel better about myself? Okay, and like, they'll do a little two step, like a little sway, little shimmy. But like, getting the arms up in the air, any of this kind of shit, like plastered drunk. You can guarantee he's had so much alcohol. If his arms go up here, he's hammered.
That's so funny. It's like a discomfort. It's just the discomfort with just being, right? With doing something that maybe you're not used to taking on.
I think an individual's dance style is very much like, oh, that's just you. That's just you dancing. You can't put it on anyone else. You can't like be like, oh no, but this he taught me. Like it's like no, you're just dancing that way. So again, it's kind of embracing that individualism. And dancing is very much like you're dancing with someone, but still it's like how you dance, how you move. It's kind of shining more light on your physicality, your body, how comfortable you are with yourself. And again, that kind of brings it back to like the drinking and not being comfortable with oneself and why we drink in the first place is, you know, there's a lot of that major discomfort that people are trying to mask for the most part. And then I think when you get someone on a dance floor too prematurely and they're not drunk enough, it's like, ah, like you're just like, I'm so exposed. No.
What about sex, which is not done in the drunken state? Is there anything that you have noticed within that? Is there the same kind of discomfort, or is that completely different?
I think when given the title of boyfriend, sex does become like a little bit more of an explorative, if that's a word, explorative
Mhm.
uh, thing about one another. So it's definitely less judgy. Um, but there is a lot of like, oh no, I'll just turn the lights off, and you're like, it's okay, like I don't mind. It's like, no, no, I'm just gonna turn the lights off. Like, okay, like so a little bit of that, a little bit of bashfulness. I think yeah, definitely a lights off kind of thing for the most part until they get more comfortable, and then the lights are on, and then you're like, aha, we have upgraded.
Usually it's the women that say, "Can I have the lights off?" Like, I feel like the men are just like, "No, no, I want to see everything."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. Again, personal experience for sure. I don't think I've been like sat in with anyone else and like, do you keep the lights on? Like,
Let's explore this.
yeah, yeah. Do you mind if I just sit in to see if you're doing the same thing that I do? Like,
I mean, with international men, I can say that it depends, of course, but I don't think there's any like I have from my personal experiences. I don't think it's been like, oh, let's have the lights off. But and then you're right, because as I said, I have dated an Irish guy for an amount of time, and there was kind of a discomfort. There was like a slight discomfort that I felt radiating from him. Maybe he wasn't really secure about his body, whatever the case may be. There was always a little bit of that, like holding back, and the lights off was a thing from what I remember. You're right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is down to just judging oneself and like, there's, I think a lot of overthinking that goes into things that should just be kind of like fundamentally quite natural and just fun. Um, and again, it's to sort of step out of that comfort zone into having like fun without being super drunk or what, it does. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to grow up in a community where everything is like done with alcohol. It's all your friends have a say in who you're dating, why you're dating them, like what school did they go to? Oh, they went to that school. Like, to really break away from that narrative of everyone having a say in what you do at all times. Because again, really large groups of friends, like 10, 15 people hanging out at any given moment, like really, really like, you know, just a lot of opinions about a lot of people all the time is, it's breaking away from that to kind of carve out your own sense of self and what you like doing outside of just drinking, whether that's sex or whether that's I want to go do this activity over here, or it takes a bit of work without anyone else's say in it. Like even acting, when I wrote my first play, that was a huge thing for me to even be able to put it on in front of other people, because it was like, oh, this is just me. This is my words. Like, no, I can't blame this on anyone else. I can't say, oh, well, he wrote that sentence that you didn't like. That bit that you hated? Yeah, that wasn't my part. That was actually, so again, it's kind of a lot of those things where you can't like pass it off and be, um, just hide behind anything. There are certain things in life that are going to be quite exposing, and you either grab it by the balls and go for it and become more competent at something. Like that's what I'll always say, like confidence is competence. Like the more you do something, the more okay you're going to be with doing it. And the more you sort of have to layer that with whether it's alcohol or like fucking shit tons of makeup and fake eyelashes and whatever it is, like to hide, or I don't know. I'm not saying makeup is for hiding, but it just begs many questions of like, how comfortable are you with you and what you're giving to the world? And I think from my experience, I've seen that journey be a lot more strenuous for Irish people than it tends to be for the rest of the world. So, like I come over here and everyone just seems to be like, yeah, this is what I want. Yeah, you, me, we're going out. We're boyfriend and girlfriend now. And I'm like, what? What the fuck? like when I got over here, guys were so assertive. They were just like, oh my God, you're amazing. I really want, oh, let's go. You want to go here? But again, it was like dates of like, do you want to go on a hike? Do you want to go, like, all of these different options and different, like they had no problem saying what it was, comedy show, anything, what they actually really were into and wanted to do. Whereas back home it's like, so yeah, do you want to go for a pint or something? Yeah, like it's not even looking at my eyes, not even like no eye contact, not just like fucking yeah, you're grand, like yeah, I wouldn't mind, yeah, if you don't no, if you don't want to hang out, it's grand, I don't mind, yeah, no, it's grand, I'll talk to you anyway, yeah, like it's just it's completely like pulls apart, totally different.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was like, I thought that was such a perfect kind of ending to the podcast, because I think at the end of the day, you're right. I think there's people do need to do the work on themselves, and practice does make perfect. Even doing something like a podcast, which is not natural for me, and I'm sure you started a podcast, which I'm going to, by the way, link in the description of the video and the audio version of this. It's always difficult. It's because it's not something, I mean, I've been doing videos for 8 years, and but I generally don't like to put myself in front of the camera, and I'm trying to do this a little bit more, and it's a completely new world even for someone who's been like in video creation for such a long time. But as you said, it's just there's no way around it. You just have to put in the work, and you just have to do it. And some videos are going to suck, and some podcasts are not going to be as great as you want them to be, and you're going to say a whole lot of stuff that you later listen to and cringe. But That's the process, right? There's no other way around it. We just have to look stupid to get to that goal of expressing yourself and not second guessing everything that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Because I mean, it's also like any mistake you make or any failure, any like, oh, I fell on my face. Like, that's just something you're going to have to learn from. Like, not the rest of the world. This kind of notion of like, oh, fuck, if I fail, like the whole world is going to laugh at me. Like, no, that's not how it works. You fail, you move on. That's it. Like it's not this big like, oh my god, it's gonna be breaking news on fucking CNN. Like no, like you just fucked up. It's fine. Like, but
exactly.
also in respect to everything else, how much did you actually fuck up? Look at your life with a little bit of perspective, just a little bit. That's all it takes. Of like, was this the biggest like life changing thing that's ever gonna happen to me? Did that date and how terribly it ended, like make me look at my job, my where I live, like how I look. Like no, it was just a bad date. That was it. It was just a bad date. Move on. I
Exactly.
think we put too much weight on these things and too much weight on it being like the like overarching narrative of our lives. If you don't want to drink or you don't want to go out with that guy who like wears a jersey or like whatever the sort of ticking the boxes are, you're only going to know what your boxes are and your pros and cons. Like you're only going to have that list by trial and error. There's no other fucking way that you're going to learn it, like no other way. So come on,
100%.
Ireland. Come on, Ireland.
You
You can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. We got this. Let's go.
to anyone who's Irish listening to this, I think this could be great advice, and actually a great advice to literally anybody, because as Clara said, um, the thing is, like, when you make a mistake and you fail, uh first of all, congratulations for actually doing something. Most of the people don't even take that step. It's really easy to judge from the sidelines and say, oh, this person's an idiot. What about you get in and you do something? And the other thing is, people are too worried about themselves making a fool, too worried about you looking stupid. Like, no one cares about you that much that they're going to focus on you doing something stupid. And if they do, it's only because they have nothing else to talk about and they don't have a life. So, to anyone that has anything they want to start, literally just go for it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? I think, that's literally with anything that you take on. When I started this channel, Dating Beyond Borders, people used to make fun of me and say it's because I don't have a boyfriend. I didn't, but it was a great. I could have just sat around and cried about it. People did say that. Did I care?
That's brutal.
A little bit. But I look at them now and I don't even remember their names. So, yeah, it was a problem for me, and I didn't like dating in Canada, and that's why I started the channel. And at the end of the day, like, I still love what I do for a completely different reason now, right? But um, people are gonna talk because they have nothing else to do, and um, just live your own life, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be the one on the deathbed, and you're gonna be thinking about how your life went, and no one's going to be there, not Tommy, not Mary, not anyone else. So on that note, Clara, thank you so much. I really love this podcast because we talked about the Irish culture, but we also talked about a little bit of the psychology, and that's my main purpose with this podcast, not just the dating or who pays for whom or any of that, but like going deeper and trying to understand why we do the things that we do. And I hope that was some good advice for people that are listening to this. So thanks again. And I will see you on Sunday for a new video that we're doing.
Let's go.
So
Yeah.
go check out Clara's Instagram. I'm going to link to it below. And yeah, I will see you guys next week with a new podcast, as I'm going to be trying to do these weekly. So I'll see you then. Bye. And
Oh.
bye, Clara.